Welcome into Titan Pregame Live. We are here and we got a big game ahead. The Titans try to get back on pace. They get two massive offensive weapons back, and we got an offensive weapon in the house, Jack Gentry. He's going to be with us all day today. I know, Jack, you're amped up for this game. The Titans host the Broncos. Titans 5-3, the Broncos 3-5, so a little bit opposite, and not the game that we assumed this would be at the beginning of the season. But here we are, and you've got some struggling offenses, but the Titans trying to get back on pace. This is Titan Pregame Live. We are brought to you by Buddy Allen Carpet One. We love Buddy Allen Carpet One. They will give you the hookup up if you need new carpet in your house. Also, Mr. Good Roof, locally owned roofing company, gutters, windows specialists. They've got you covered there. BetMGM. We always love BetMGM. You can download the BetMGM app using the promo code ATOZSPORTS. Get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. We're going to talk about a little bit of a bet that we may make on Treylon Burks, who's going to play today. So BetMGM, a great part of our pregame show. And then we've got a special new post-game sponsor today. That is Barton Insurance. It is team mentality. A to Z Sports uses Barton Insurance. We'll talk more about that in our post-game show, along with crumble cookies. The Titans trying to crumble, Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos today, and we'll find out if they'll be able to do that. Jack, just a little taste, a little crumble cookie taste. How are you feeling about the Titans heading into today's matchup, hosting at home, high noon game? We're going to see how it plays out on the field.
Well, I'm a little nervous, Zach, and it doesn't have anything to do with the Broncos. It has to do with rest. I think the Titans emptied their tank last week against the Chiefs to try and get that win in regulation and then in overtime. The defense was on the field the entire fourth quarter. Now they're missing half their starters. That's what I'm worried about today. But again, you're playing a Denver offense that really hasn't found their footing so far in the season. Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett have proven to be a bad marriage through the first half of the season. We'll see if that gets corrected after their bye. But they have the luxury of rest. The Titans, they do not.
Yeah, they don't. And we'll see how that impacts today's game. Jack, before we talk about the actives, I want you to talk about the inactives, because the Titans do have a couple of key defenders that are not going to be suited up playing today. We'll see what kind of impact that has. But take us through the inactives for today for the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, so on defense, there's going to be no Jeff Simmons. Bud Dupree's out. Amani Hooker's out. Zach Cunningham is out. And we found out today that Christian Fulton will not be playing. And, against Russell Wilson, I know he's kind of had a bad year, but you need your secondary to be ready to go. And without Christian Fulton, who is the team's number one corner, that's cause for concern. Also out today, wide receiver Chris Conley, guard Jordan Roos. So they're down Conley, but they do get Burks back today. So that's the positive. But you are going to miss depth with Conley, who has been on the field probably a little more than Titans fans would like. But at this point in the season, you need all those guys healthy as well. So they're going to be a little shorthanded on defense, and some wide receivers are going to have to step up today.
Yeah, they are. Look, Jeffrey Simmons, this is the first game that they have not had Simmons for a full 4 quarters, right? Now, he re-injured, it looked like that ankle as he was in a walking boot all this past week. At the end of last week's Chiefs Sunday night game, and you look at what the impact that could be, and then the back half of the defense, you mentioned Fulton. He has been the clear-cut best corner for the Titans. I mean, there's no doubt about that. How are they going to cover Jerry Jeudy? I don't know. We're going to find out. How is Russell Wilson going to use some of his wide receivers? So defensively, they do have some setbacks there, but our main show and our main theme of this pregame show, brought to you by Buddy Allen Carpet One, is the two massive offensive weapons that the Titans get back. Look, they've been without Treylon Burks since week 4. They have missed Ryan Tannehill the last 2 weeks. Both number 17 and number 16 are stepped up to play. We're going to play a little game with the chat here. And shout out to BetMGM. But all of the sports books, I looked around. I was trying to find what is the over-under for Treylon Burks. I couldn't find it. I could not find it. So we're going to play our own betting strategy game and asking you guys an under question. But first, I do want to tell you guys about our title sponsor of our pregame show, and that is Buddy Allen Carpet One. Full-service flooring experts. They've got you covered. Locally owned and operated by the Allen family for over 55 years. Zach, Jenna, and Judson Allen are in the store each and every day, and they always offer free in-home measures and estimates. So local, that is what we value here on A to Z Sports. If you're a local in the Middle Tennessee area, you're looking about getting some new carpet. It's not like the big box companies. Buddy Allen does their own research, and they can specialize in hooking you up with the perfect carpet. They're not one of those 1-800 big box business. They are local to Nashville, and they are trusted right here in the market. That's Buddy Allen Carpet One. All right, Jack, I got a question for you. Robert Woods, and this is what I'm kind of taking as, Robert Woods' over-under is 35.5 receiving yards. Now, he hasn't consistently been there over the last couple of weeks. Over-under 35.5 receiving yards for Treylon Burks. That's the question. We're going to go to the chat. I just posted it in. We want your comments. Are you over or are you under with Treylon Burks today? Ryan Tannehill is a lot better downfield passer than Malik Willis, as we've seen, because of the inconsistencies of experience. Ryan Tannehill is hobbled with that ankle, but he's going to give it a go today. Can Treylon Burks make an impact on the offense, Jack? Do you think right out of the gates, he's been working himself back from turf toe, but can he make an impact in today's game? Over or under 35.5 yards, as we'll see the chat kind of spill in their opinion.
You know, he's got a couple things going against him today. I mean, this Broncos team is only held together so far, at least, by their defense. They have the number one pass defense in the NFL. They're allowing opponents to throw for an average of 165 yards per game. Now, Burks doesn't have a whole lot of competition out wide. Robert Woods, I mentioned on the Tighten Up podcast this week, Bobby Trees, there's been a deforestation lately. Where has Robert Woods been? No catches last week against the Chiefs. So Burks has to come back and at least pose a threat to this really strong Broncos secondary. So 35.5, it's a fair number. You wonder how much they're going to play Burks. That turf toe injury, I know it's just a toe, but turf toes ended the careers of some pretty, strong football players. Deion Sanders, most famously. So it's not, the easiest thing to play with. And, having it happen mid-season, he's going to have to come back and they're going to throw him in the fire and see how it responds. But it's a tough Broncos secondary. Having Ryan Tannehill back is great. I also think the last 2 weeks of Titans film, their game tape, has just been Malik Willis turning around, giving it to Henry, and everyone watching him run by. So maybe the Broncos crowd the box a little bit, open up some opportunities over the top for Treylon Burks to make plays down the field, which is what they drafted him to do. So I'm going to go over with Treylon Burks this week. 35.5 is the number. I think he gets to 40 just like he did the first 2 weeks of the season. So give me the over. And you know what? I think there's room for him even to go over that. So really the Titans need Treylon Burks in the end zone today, more importantly than yards.
Yeah. Wow. So you're going over. Let's go to the chat. 55 yards from Billy. Billy's going over right there. Jimbo says over 35. Xavier. And so that means over 35.5. If you're going to get to 36, over barely from Dustin, over from Jody. Corey says over, just over from Donald. We've got under from Jonathan. So our first under right there. Under from Brent. Max says over is going to get 5 targets.
I like that.
And Corey just says feed the king. If they feed the king too much, you're not going to feed Burks, but we'll find out today. Let's see. Hard to throw on from Jody. Let's see here. Over under 35.5, and kind of where I plucked that from was that's Robert Woods' total, because Treylon Burks is not on the board on the betting apps, especially BetMGM. That's where you should place your bet. Guy says under, feed 22 from Eric. He's going under 20 yards right there. Orlando says over right there. Deborah says over, and so does Jay Bryant. Trey is going under on the hook. So this is what I did, and I know nobody cares about my fantasy team, just like I don't care about your fantasy team. But what I did do, I had drafted Treylon Burks very late in my fantasy draft at the beginning of the season. Once he went on IR, I dropped him. I was like, I need a roster spot. Well, this morning I went and looked, and I went and re-picked him back up. I re-picked him back up not to start him today, but that was for future notice. I think it's going to take some time. I'm going to go under 35.5 yards. I just don't think that's going to be a part of the game plan. I do think Denver is tough to throw on. Ryan Tannehill's got to get back into a groove, and Treylon Burks has got to get back into a groove. They've both missed multiple weeks. And so I can't sit here and think that Treylon Burks is going to get back to 40 yards receiving. He does have pressure on his shoulders, right? Because this Titans offense has been brutally bad, like brutally bad. And not only the Titans offense been brutally bad, the Broncos offense have been brutally bad. Listen to this. The Titans and the Broncos have both scored 24 or fewer points in all 8 of their games. The Titans are 5-3. The Broncos are 3-5. That is 2 of the 4 teams. Only 4 teams have done this. You know who their company is, Jack? You got the Titans and Broncos that have both scored under 24 points or 24 or fewer. You know who their company is?
I know the Texans have to be in there somewhere.
Ding, 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 ding. The Texans are in there.
Jets offense has slowed down.
In the AFC, it's not the Jets, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers, and even worse team, right? So they don't score a lot of points. There is not a lot of offense, and the Titans have not had a lot of offense in the last 2 weeks, obviously, because it's been the focal point has been Derrick Henry, and then they got into that slugfest with Kansas City. I just don't see 35 or really 36 yards from Treylon Burks. Here's what I possibly could see. Maybe a red zone target to get a touchdown for the Titans. Get on the board for the first time and get in the end zone for the first time from Treylon Burks. I possibly could see that, but I don't see a lot of offensive production because I don't think that they're going to try to put Ryan Tannehill in harm's way. I don't think they're going to drop him back as much unless, Jack, they get into that situation where they're forced to, right? If they get behind by 10 to 14 points, they're not going to have a choice. I think the Titans are going to avoid that because of Derrick Henry, but I'm going to go under 35.5. I just need to see more from this Titans offense.
I understand that. And your reasoning being, game script and game plan. I think a lot of the chat that said under had, Henry in their response. Like they believe that the Titans should feed Henry. Henry's coming off a game where he carried the ball just 17 times. That's his second lowest total on the season. And that was important last week to kind of keep him, from overworking himself at the halfway point. Now, I know Titans fans want to see as much Henry as they can, but let's face it, this is a gauntlet the Titans are in the middle of. So, he, 17 carries last week. That was after back-to-back 30-carry games. I think we see more of what we saw, before Kansas City with Henry. They're going to get him the ball. They're going to get him the ball a lot. It's going to be imperative that Henry has a big day. But also, I think that due to Henry's success, we're talking 5 straight games of 100 yards rushing. Got a chance today to become the first player in NFL history to run for 100 yards in 6 straight games. So, that may set up the pass. That may open up some opportunities for Treylon Burks and this, core of wide receivers that has been underwhelming so far in the season. I think we see some tight ends get involved today. The Titans like to do that with Malik Willis under center, and all we heard from the start of training camp was, Ryan Tannehill and Austin Hooper have this connection. Well, let's see some of that. When you're not getting enough out of your receivers, you got to find other pass catchers, whether those are your running backs, Dontrell Hill, your Derrick Henry we've seen get involved, or it's your tight ends. So I do want to see the Titans spread the ball out, but also you win games by getting the ball in the hands of your best playmakers. Treylon Burks is one of this team's best playmakers. I want to see him have at least 4 catches today.
I'm Zach Bingham. He's Jack Gentry here on Titan Pregame Live, brought to you by Buddy Allen Carpet One, your trusted carpet source right here in Middle Tennessee. Jack, before we get to our who's got the goods for today, let's talk about Ryan Tannehill and that ankle. he's missed 2 games with that ankle. And look, he gutted it out after he injured that hurt ankle earlier in the season. It swelled up. He was, in a walking boot directly after the game, and then has since been rehabbing it for the last 2 weeks. What is your feeling about Ryan Tannehill and his ability to move? Because, Jack, you remember, one of the main reasons why he has not played is because that ankle has not been healthy enough to prevent him from protecting himself. That's the one thing in football, if you're a quarterback, you cannot go out there if you cannot protect your feet, your legs, your head, your body, your arm, whatever. If you can't protect yourself, you cannot be the best for the team. He hasn't been the best for the team. That's why they've gone with Malik Willis the last 2 weeks. Do you think we will see Ryan Tannehill kind of struggle maybe and favor that ankle throughout the course of the game? Or do you think he's good enough to go, so that tells us that the training staff feels comfortable and Ryan Tannehill feels comfortable to go out there and perform at a high level?
I know that comparing Ryan Tannehill and Steve McNair is not a fair comparison to either player, but this does feel like something that Steve McNair would play through and would play. I mean, Steve McNair's best games came when he was most banged up. So Ryan Tannehill needs to put on a McNair-like performance today. For a quarterback who is, his mobility is really underrated league-wide. I know people in Nashville know about it, but, moving around in the pocket and even outside of the pocket, and sometimes on, 20-yard runs every now and then, Tannehill's legs are a factor, and it keeps the defense on its toes. It adds another player for the Broncos to, keep in front of them. And I do think that the ankle will be an issue. High ankle sprains, those things don't go away. I mean, that's not going to be pain-free. He's going to be feeling it tomorrow and spending a lot of this upcoming week in the tub, most likely. But, it's definitely a factor. I do expect Todd Downing to cater to Tannehill's, lack of mobility, which, we might see today, although I hope he comes out and looks spry like we know Tannehill to do. But I do expect to see a lot of shotgun. I do think the ankle definitely factors into this Titans offensive game plan. And the Broncos defense is talking about it. Those guys are going to be trying to get low hits on Tannehill, make him really feel their presence. So, I think the ankle is going to be a factor today.
Yeah, watch for this velocity, ball velocity, because it is that right ankle. That's where you get all of your power to drive off that back leg. And if he's unable to do that, short passes, right? I wouldn't expect really long throws where you've got to get it to it because of how good, cover corners in the NFL all across the league are quality. Now, some are better than others, but watch for ball velocity. I think we'll find out early on if that ankle is good enough for him to play. The Titans say so. Ryan Tannehill says so. The training staff says so. He will start today. So those are the 2 key weapons that the Titans will get back. Treylon Burks, first appearance since week 4, getting that turf toe injury in Indy, and Ryan Tannehill, first for a couple of weeks, starting back within the two-tone blue, literally two-tone blue as they go navy over light blue. And let's get to who's got the goods. Who has the good matchup? The best part is we've got Jack Gentry. Jack Gentry's got the goods, and he has who has the goods in this good matchup today. But we got to talk about who actually has the real goods. That may be Jack, but it also is MrGoodRoof.com, 615-824-8100. And look, since Veterans Day, Mr. Good Roof has a awesome thing that they're doing, which is Shingle Bells for Veterans. Mr. Good Roof's annual roof giveaway. They specialize in roofing, gutters, windows, fully insured, licensed, and bonded. This is their 6th year to give away a free roof to somebody in the community. This year, it's an honor to give a roof to a veteran in Sumner County. Go to MrGoodRoof.com. If you're thinking about, fixing your roof, if you've had problems, it's one call away. 615-824-8100. That's MrGoodRoof.com. Jack, who has the good matchup today?
It's the same guy who's always got the good matchup every week because he's the best player in the NFL at his position. That's right. King Henry Derrick Henry going for, like I just mentioned, an NFL record 6 straight game of over 100 rushing yards. He's got a chance to do that today. The Broncos defense while I mentioned how great they are against the pass, they've got some holes in their run defense, and they just lost Bradley Chubb. That's not going to help them either. They're giving up an average of 122.6 yards per game in the NFL. That ranks 21st in the league. Derrick Henry, number 22, has a chance to have a big day on the ground, but Ryan Tannehill is going to have to prove that he can throw the ball around the field today, opening up lanes for Derrick Henry. I do really believe that Bradley Chubb's absence will have a huge impact on what the King can get done for the Titans today.
Yeah, the Titans on the ground average 142.3 yards toting the rock. And I think that definitely is going to be something to watch. Derrick Henry is what this Titans offense is centered around. I think when the Titans really perform well, though, they get it from other areas, right? It's either Austin Hooper, it's either Treylon Burks or Robert Woods. Robert Woods has had 2 good games this year. Now, they haven't been stellar for, the trade that they did in the offseason. He's still trying to find, his identity within this offense, as is Treylon Burks. But one thing that we do know is that's how Todd Downing likes to at least set the tone. The Titans have been a very good first half team. We saw that last week, Sunday night, against the Kansas City Chiefs. Will we see that? And really weeks prior, they've scored 24 points multiple times in 2 quarters, right? I mean, we saw that in back-to-back games earlier in the year. Is that the type of performance that we're just going to come out first 2 quarters, Derrick Henry's going to sustain, and you can open up that play action? Todd Downing, we always talk about matchup. How is he going to take advantage of the matchup? And if Henry gets going, that usually helps the offense, right? If Henry doesn't get going, more pressure, I feel like, is on 2 guys, Todd Downing and Ryan Tannehill. Todd Downing notoriously up and down, more down than up, I feel like, offensively speaking. And Ryan Tannehill, who's hobbled, as we talked about before. I saw this, and I think this is something to watch. Andrew's going the opposite way. Andrew says the Broncos wide receivers against the Titans secondary. What do you think about that, Jack? The Titans secondary is down their best corner in Christian Fulton.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anytime the opposing defense is without their top corner, that opens up some opportunities in the pass game for the offense. And this Broncos wide receiver room, I mean, though they've underperformed, it hasn't always been their fault. They haven't gotten a lot out of Russ. But, I mean, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, those are 2 really talented wide receivers they have out there. So it absolutely could be a problem for the Titans. Look, when the Titans lose games like this, the Titans are always playing close games, always one-possession games. But sometimes, like we saw against the Giants, it's that Saquon run. It's that big play. The Titans can afford to give up some yards to Sutton and Jeudy, but they've got to avoid giving up that one big play that turns into 6 points and really changes the game.
Yeah, and the Broncos, we're about to get to predictions because we're 5 minutes away from kick. The Broncos, they can't afford to lose this game. I'm not saying the Titans can, but they're in dire straits. They're 3-5. They're 1-3 on the road. Russell Wilson's been criticized all up and down. I did see Sierra's on the sidelines, so I don't know if that's going to help motivate him even more. Jerry Jeudy, 5 straight games with 50-plus receiving yards. They have gotten better over the last couple of weeks after a disastrous start. You got to think about momentum. Plus, you also have the Titans, though. They do have home field advantage. Coming back home, it's cold. I was outside earlier this morning. I mean, it is not warm. It is cold. That I think that favors, Denver obviously in a cold climate, but that favors the Titans because hitting 22 when it's cold, I feel like hurts more.
That is a great point. That's exactly what I was going to talk about. It's 36 degrees outside in Nashville. Winter is coming, and winter is when Henry does his best work. It's harder to tackle the big guy. It's harder to tackle El Tractorcito in the backfield when it's freezing cold outside, and he's going to wear on defenses through 4 quarters. I know Denver plays in the cold, but I mean, this is Henry weather. This isn't Denver weather. This is when Derrick Henry gets the job done. By the way, quick little note, to get to 2,000 yards on the season for the second time in his career, to be the only player to ever do that, Henry must average 125 yards per game for the rest of the season. That's not impossible to do. A couple big games, 150 here, 200 there. I mean, that's feasible. So Derrick Henry, he's got that on his mind. He's been playing angry. He's been playing motivated after hearing all that Jonathan Taylor BS this offseason. So Derrick Henry, I do think this weather caters to a big day to Big Henry.
All right, Titan Pregame Live brought to you by Buddy Allen Carpet One. Let's get to pregame predictions. It's time. Prediction time. Titans favored 2.5. They're at home, so usually you scrub 3 points. This is kind of close to a pick'em. It's definitely a one-score game and a field goal game as far as Vegas seeing it. That's brought to you by BetMGM. Put your predictions in the comment section before we get to kickoff. Use the promo code ATOZSPORTS. Download the BetMGM app today. Promo code gets you up to $1,000 on your first bet, risk-free for new users. Prediction time, Jack. What do you think?
Yep, you mentioned it. The spread right now, 2.5, Titans favored. Over-under is 39.5. So what Vegas thinks is going to happen is that the Titans are going to win by a score of 21-18, 21-19, somewhere in there. I think it will be even lower scoring today. I think Tannehill's going to have to get back on his feet. This Broncos run defense with the luxury of the bye week, I think they step it up a little bit, knowing that they're all going to have to pull a little bit more weight without Bradley Chubb up front. I think the Titans are going to win this one and cover the number 17-13.
Oh, low-scoring affair. I do think that's smart, and I'll tell you why here in a second. Guy goes 21-17 Titans, 17-3 Titans, 19-17 Denver from Jay, 24-21 from Jonathan. Toby goes 24-19 Titans. Steven also goes Titans 18-9, 24-23, 30-24. I am going to go 2017, not the year, but 2017 Titans win by 3, barely cover the spread. The Titans only average 18 points per game. The Broncos only average 15. I think we're right in line of a low-scoring game. I have the Titans winning this game 20-17. So we will find out. They are on the field. Jack, great job. We got to thank our sponsors before we get out of here, including Buddy Allen Carpet One, the title sponsor of our pregame show. We love Buddy Allen Carpet One. Mr. Goodroof, we know who has the goods. We'll find out if Derrick Henry has the goods. BetMGM, use the promo code ATOZSports. And our postgame show, don't forget, we got a halftime show before the postgame show. Barton Insurance, we got a brand new sponsor we love to talk about in the postgame show. And Crumble Cookies. Who's going to crumble under the pressure today? We'll find out, and we'll see you after 2 quarters of play. Titans Broncos next from Nissan Stadium.